I've been watching all the teams on campus starting to gather and begin their training over the last 3 weeks or so. Football, soccer, volleyball, track, crew, baseball even. All began to arrive, and no matter the weather, no matter what they were feeling on any given morning, the training began, and it was rigorous. And I mean rigorous. Even just watching it was rigorous. Now, as all of you know, I am not a jock in any sense of the word. But as someone who looks in from the outside, I got to tell you, I find it absolutely fascinating. Crew, for example, is up in the morning about the time I go to bed. All of those folks are running in the heat and in the cold and in the rain, even this morning. All of them are being put through their paces. They're pushed to the limit, it seems to me. And they do it. They do it. They rise to the challenge. The coach tells you what training for success will look like. He tells you what it's going to look like if you want to succeed and how you need to get there. And almost all of them do it. Perhaps they whine just a little bit when the alarm clock goes off and it's still dark outside or it's below 0 wind chill. But they do what's required. They trust their coaches. They trust their coaches to know what success requires of you, and you know that they know what you need to do to not get hurt. To not get hurt. From the outside looking in, I have to say this is huge, and it looks like torture. But you and I, if we're on those teams, we know that it's just what it takes. It's what it takes. Enter now here in this gospel at the beginning of this new academic year for all of our students and us together again. Enter now today this new coach. His name is Jesus. You might call him one of those life coaches, really. He's a coach demanding trust, even more trust than any coach really demands and needs to be a good coach. He's a coach that demands trust, and worthy of trust he is. He has a wisdom. He has a wisdom about him of what it takes to succeed in life, what it takes if love is to go the distance, what it takes if we come up against anything that would keep life and love from happening, from becoming all it can be for us. And his wisdom about all this stuff, well, let's just say, his wisdom is nothing less than godly. And success for him, success for Jesus is nothing less than heaven. But it's not usually what we think about heaven with a capital H, like heaven at the end of the line after my death. True as that is. What he knows that we keep forgetting is that heaven is not just at the end, it's also right now. It's now too. All along the way to heaven is heaven, one of our mystics wrote. All the way to heaven is heaven. This coach wants you and me to be capable of heaven now, right now, and at the hour of our death. Here in this training program, this coach lays out for us in no uncertain terms what it takes. What it takes to finish well, what it's going to take for us to become everything we were meant to be, for us to flourish in this world, what it's going to take for love to go to the finish, all the way to the end, and life too. And this training comes from Luke in this gospel you just heard. Luke's text begins with a hard word and it ends with a hard word. And anybody who's ever been coached know that a coach has to say the hard things sometimes, as much as we'd rather not hear them. In between, he tells us what following Christ will take. And here it comes. Hate your parents. Hate your kids. Hate your spouses. Carry your cross. Every day, carry your cross. And give up all your possessions. What is this hating my parents? What does it mean to hate my spouse and my kids? What is this hating? It's the literal word. It is the literal word that Jesus uses in this text, according to Luke. Hating. But we know, you and I know, that no text can be taken without its context, ever. And this Jesus, this coach, is not somebody who hates the way we use the word hate. He doesn't do that. Even when he had a good reason to hate, he didn't hate, and he was forgiving to the last breath. Hate isn't in his vocabulary the way we hear hate. But he does mean that we become too attached sometimes. He does mean that we make false gods out of these human beings. He does mean that we can't disappoint people. One of our students said just recently, his biggest fear in life is disappointing his parents. That's what Jesus is talking about here. You're going to disappoint your parents, and sometimes for good reasons. Sometimes for godly reasons, sometimes for kingdom reasons. You're going to disappoint your spouse. Sometimes if you do the right thing and he or she doesn't approve, holds back his or her gifts from you, she's going to get mad at you. He's going to get mad at you. To say a word that's caring, that's challenging, to ruffle the feathers of this partner because you know it's going to make him or her a better person, but you don't do it because you don't want to live with that kind of angst in the house. That's what he's talking about. He's asking you to step up to the plate and give a damn about that person you live with, whether it's your parents or your kids or your spouse, enough to stir up the water so that he or she can be freer tomorrow than they are today. Woo. Good luck on that one. I live alone. Don't you hate when it's easy for the priest to say? But I had parents, and I saw the look on their face when I got ordained and when I went in the seminary. Sometimes, though I had their support almost all the way, I have to tell you, sometimes we're going to have to do the right thing, and it's going to cause the waters to get stirred up. That's what he's talking about. That's what he means when he says hate. Carry your cross. Carry your cross. Woo. It means facing the consequences for me of my choices. Somebody who runs from choices. I got a ticket the other day. A ticket. You know why? I've never gotten this ticket in 62 years of life. I didn't use my blinker to change lanes. I know. You're all guilty, right? $91, town and country. Yeah, thank you. So all the way home, I was whining. And I'm not supporting this, by the way. One of the junior, a few years back, I said, is there a way I could have loved you better while you were an undergrad here? And he said, yeah, you could have used your blinker when you changed lanes. That's what he said. And so actually I've been trying, but it's really hard to build this in. I've tried to explain all this to the cop. But I'm telling you, sometimes they don't listen. But darn it, I deserve that ticket. It's not safe. You know it. I know it. I can't believe that I would let myself do that. I need to get in the habit, and I need to work on it. I'm confessing right now, so please forgive me. But that's a consequence of my choice, and if I'm going to grow up, and we grow up at any age, right? Whether we're 18 or 81, we're growing up all the time. I need to pay it, and I need to pay it because it's the right thing to do because I did the wrong thing. And there's no whining about this anymore, Gary. Are you? This is what you do. It's part of living, Gary. There is a cost. You pay the price. This is the first and last text in the whole Scripture that uses the word cost. There's a cost to following him. There's a cost to following him. If you don't want to pay it, don't follow him. You don't have to do this. But if you think he's a good coach and he gives a damn about you, then do it. Step up and do it. If you trust that he's got your best interest in mind. And I would like to assure you that he does. Give up all your possessions. We know Jesus had things. Apparently he had a cape that was gorgeous, and they fought over it when he died. And it was his, we know. It was part of his dying that everybody wanted it. Jesus had things. So what's he mean by give up all your possessions? I think it's time for you and I to admit to ourselves first and then to each other that we're too attached. These things are okay, but we have too much stake in them. We care too much about our things, and so when they get broken or they don't work or somebody steals them, we go into this huge funk and feel so sorry for ourselves. And maybe it's just an occasion to say, hey, thanks. I needed to remember. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. We hate to admit, but we have to ourselves, that when I buy the latest and the best, I get this little adrenaline rush that runs through me, even when I'm looking at catalogs. The truth is, I don't need that. I don't need that, and somebody else might. Somebody else might need that. It's time for me to help somebody else have some of the things I've been so able and eager to enjoy. He has one more warning. Thanks, Coach. He says we're too impulsive about all this stuff. That if we're really going to buy into this team, we got to be intentional about it. We got to think about it, so when the stuff hits the fan, as they say, we're going to do what needs to be done and the right thing and do it with joy. This team is his. His. And the team is called discipleship. And it cannot be chosen impulsively. It won't last. We will quit when things get tough, like any team person does, and demanding, and when we don't succeed, and when we lose more than we gain, it seems, on any given day or week or month or year of our life. This training is not about pretty music and a decent homily. It's not about hand-holding, though there's a place for those things, and I've partied with a number of teams over the years. They laugh out loud and they play hard. There's a place for those things that feel good. But he warns about just buying in for those reasons. And if we're here, or here being anywhere, because of nice homilies or good music, it ain't going to last. I will tell you as surely as I stand here. We got to be in it for the long haul, he says. This is not something we bail from when things get difficult, or when we seem to be losing more than gaining, and we're just weary and tired of the sacrifices. And when things don't go our way, and even when the coach seems to be being a little hard on us sometimes, we can't write off this passage and go for the other ones that I came to give you life and give you life abundantly. Well, this is the text that tells us how we're going to get life and get it abundantly. This is a tough coach. But tough love is what many call it. And we won't be very coachable on some given days, you and I. That's the truth. And we will catch ourselves screwing up. But this, I got to tell you two things about this coach. He's not going to give up on us. He is not going to give up on us. He's not going to give up on us. And when things get tough, he's going to be the best coach ever. And if we don't let him coach us today, he's going to try again tomorrow and the next day and the next day till the last breath. That's one of the things I want you to know about this coach. He's got your best interest in mind, and you can trust that. So when he says something tough, please listen to him. And as you make each crucial decision, listen even harder to the voice of the coach sounding on the sidelines. And the second thing about this coach, he doesn't live somewhere else. He lives right here. Right here. This is where I need to listen. Don't listen to Gary Braun unless Gary Braun leads you right to that inner and truest voice you've ever heard in your life. That's the voice you need to hear. This coach lives nowhere else but inside of you. It's the sound of your true self calling you to be true. So listen to that voice. It's coaching you, and it's coaching you well. It will encourage you and challenge you and love you all the way to the finish line. And the Catholic Student Center is here to cheer you on. On the field and off, we'll be there. And I'm not talking about the teams now. We're here to help you hear the sound of the coach calling you. And we will do our best to encourage you when you need to be encouraged and challenge you when you need to be challenged. When you lose or when you win, only, please God, only so that you finish well. You're not alone in this. The teams are all on campus now. I enjoy watching them play. I find myself in awe of what it takes, what it took for them to get there. I'm in awe of you, my friends. You who do this stuff day in and day out and don't give up. I'm in awe of what you've suffered to do it right, and that you don't give up when you do it wrong. I'm in awe that you've stayed in the game. And your story touches me again and again and again. So let's do it. Let's rise to the challenge, you and I. We're never too old to be in this game, and never too wise to not need coaching. Thank you, God, that we have been given such a great coach. I, for one, couldn't do it without him.